Hey, everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt, Christy, Alonso. Another week has gone by, and here we all still are. And let's talk about what happened, shall we?
One of these days, we will all be in the same room with each other.
Yeah.
This week, you boys don't want to see me because I have a cold. I have my husband's cold. That's how much we love each other. We share germs and drugs, and so we're all on Theraflu together.
Listen, if you can't share drugs with your spouse, what good are they?
Really, I know. I wish I could smell the vapor rub as it came wafting off of you.
We're on like lemon ginger tea and all kinds of yummy things. So anyway, the big news, we had breaking news just right before we came on here from The View that two of the co-hosts tested positive for COVID live on air, and they had to be whisked off the set just as they were about to interview Kamala Harris.
So wait, did they was the testing like part of the show, or just back it up? How did this happen?
So everybody, clearly they have to get tested all the time, right? Because they're in close quarters and, makeup rooms, and there's a studio audience in front of them still.
Crew.
So apparently the tests for Sunny Hostin and Ana Navarrao came back positive while they were live on air. And so Joy is like, ladies, you have to go and we'll explain more later. And then when they came back from the break, they explained, they tested positive. And then they didn't bring Kamala Harris out on set. They did her interview remotely from a different part of the studio. And it all seems weird to me that they would let them go on air without knowing one way or the other whether they were positive or negative. If testing has now become like a routine part of producing a television show, particularly a live television show.
I was going to say a live show. You'd think they'd have that nailed down before the clock started.
Why they let them get into makeup even? Why would you let somebody be that close to you not knowing whether you're positive or negative? So
True. Maybe they should just do everything like those old game shows where they're all in an isolation booth,
Yes, the cone of silence, like they do for the Miss America finalists. So it was very dramatic. And now everyone in the studio has to go get tested. It's so dumb. Also, Johnny Depp says we're all going to get canceled. Did you guys see this?
Yeah. Johnny Depp said this while accepting an award. So
can you guys see my eyes roll all the way back to my head? As I texted you guys the other day, listen, the whole point of being rich and famous is so that you don't have to have consequences for your actions.
Indeed.
So I feel bad for him. I really do, because he's put all that work in, and he worked so hard to be rich and famous and have a wine bill that is thousands and thousands of dollars, and to be called out for shit that he does. That's just not okay.
I know. How dare anyone?
To put this in context, he was at the San Sebastian Film Festival. He was doing a news conference and went on this whole screed about cancel culture. It's coming for all of us. He says he's a victim of it. You can't say a single sentence without it being taken out of context and having it get its whole life of its own and get blown out of proportion. He says no one is safe, and we all have to stand up for each other in the face of this. So.
Boo-hoo.
Well, it's funny though, is it cuts both ways, because today Fox News announced that they weren't going to allow Rudy Giuliani or his son Andrew on air for the next 3 months. So they're canceling Rudy.
Well,
because he's lied too much about the election.
I love Alonso's response on our text thread. Call the ambulance.
This does weirdly tie in with this week's The Morning Show, which if you're part of our Patreon, you'll get to hear us discuss.
Right. We have all the TV news for you. Okay, so I have one more TV news item. So Chris Cuomo, longtime anchor on CNN, back when he worked at ABC News, he worked with a woman named Shelley Ross, who was a longtime veteran TV news producer. She wrote a piece in the New York Times that came out today, an op-ed piece about how 16 years ago at a party, he went to give her a hug and one of his hands slid down and grabbed her butt and said, "I can do this to you now that we don't work together anymore." And I guess her husband was right there and saw the whole thing. And she pushed away from him and said, "No, you can't." And her husband saw it and they promptly left this party. He wrote her an email of apology saying, "I'm ashamed. I was happy to see you. I shouldn't have greeted you that way. And please apologize to your lovely husband. And So he did this awful thing. He apologized. 16 years passed. She's now writing an article about it in the New York Times and including a screen grab of the email so we can all see verbatim what he wrote. Because apparently she feels like he has been hypocritical in the treatment of his brother, who was the governor of New York, but is no longer because many, many women have accused him of inappropriate sexual behavior and just gross stuff in general. I think why now? Why, I don't know what she hopes to gain from this. He did not impede her career in any way. She went on to flourish for many, many years in television news. And I just wonder, like, why dredge this up now? He did it. It was gross. He apologized. She accepted it. And I don't know. I guess because he's not called out his own brother or he has pretended to be on the side of truth. Anyway.
I will give her the benefit of the doubt of saying that maybe she's trying to provide context for the Cuomo behavior in general of both siblings. I don't know.
I just didn't know what she hopes. Does she hope that like other women will come forward? Does she know that there are other women who have been subjected to this behavior? And so she hopes that by being the first one out, that like it will inspire others to say what happened to them, if indeed that is the case. Anyway, it's just weird. It's weird to me. Anyway, so that happened. Did you guys watch the Emmys?
No.
Nope.
Really? I watched the whole thing.
Okay. And how were they?
Well, a lot of shows that we talk about won a bunch of Emmys, including Ted
true.
Lasso,
Yes.
which we are going to be talking about on our Patreon today.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. The shows that won, you know, and the performances that won, The Crown, Ted Lasso, Mare of Easttown, Hacks, are all super white. And not a single performer of color won anything, including, very sadly, Michael K. Williams did not win for his supporting performance in Lovecraft Country. You could feel in the room, like Kerry Washington was the one who came out to present that award. And she gave this really loving tribute to him before all the nominees were announced. And you could just feel like collectively, everyone was really hoping he would win. And then there was just this like palpable sense of deflation when she said the name Tobias Menzies for The Crown.
So it was like the Oscars.
Yeah. And so they did it in a few different locations. They did it indoors. It was more of like a supper club kind of feel, kind of like how they did the Oscars this past year.
Right.
They did one in LA, one in London, but Seth Rogen came out to give the first award of the night, which ended up going to Hannah Waddingham, who's so fantastic in Ted Lasso. And he kind of made a joke, and who knows if it was like serious or joking. He's like, you guys, like, we're indoors still. There is still a pandemic going on. No one's got a mask on.
There's a seat, there's a roof here.
Right. I was told that this would be outside, and like, no, it's more important that we have a chandelier over our heads. And then the LA County Department of Health actually responded to that, saying that this is technically a TV production and that it was adhering to the rules, the health mandates that had been put in place to allow TV production to continue in the middle of the pandemic. And so I guess everyone was tested, but yeah, there wasn't distancing. There were no masks.
So it's the rules that apply to like Chicago fire, basically.
He showed up for it.
He did show up for it. And he also botched Hannah Waddingham's name when he read it off the card.
Oop.
But it's interesting. Like, yeah, that's a good point, Matt. Like if you felt so strongly about it, like,
I mean, look, we you know, as far as the small number of shows that won anything, and the fact that, like, you know, only the white performers won, you know, we always point this out. Like, there's no, the people who vote for these awards don't have to prove that they've seen everything or even all the nominees, you know. That's why I always say, like, I put a lot more stock into what critics groups vote for, just because I think they see more stuff. You know, if you're an Oscar voter and you are busy in production or you know, whatever your branch of the industry is, you might not have time to see all 5 of the movies in any given category, much less all the nominees. And so, you wind up going, well, I saw that one. I like that. I'll vote for that, and so, yeah, I think, I don't know what the makeup of the Emmy votership is, but clearly they watched Hacks, Ted Lasso, The Crown, and one or two other things. And then they didn't watch a lot of stuff, one would have to imagine.
Yeah. I mean, the people that did win, I'm thrilled that they won. Brett Goldstein won for playing Roy Kent. He's fantastic. And I'm glad that he won, so Jason Sudeikis won.
Yeah.
So yes. And then backstage, they all did the Roy Kent chant.
Nice.
Yes. He's here. He's there.
Oh,
he's fucking where.
Do we know who the journalist is who asked Gillian Anderson if she had talked to Margaret Thatcher?
No, but that's amazing.
Oh
my God. Anyway, so I watched the Emmys. And then the other thing from that night that's interesting was that Scott Frank, they kept trying to play off Scott Frank, screenwriter who created the Queen's Gambit, who won for directing the Queen's Gambit. And they kept trying to play him off. And he was just like an asshole about it and was like, no, stop the music. I'm not done. And then went on to ramble for 3 more minutes.
Did they let the Emmys run long the way they do with the Oscars, or is he just eating up somebody else's time?
They ran long because what they do here in LA is that they begin airing at 5 o'clock, right? 5 p.m. our time on Sunday. And then they replay them immediately after they end. And I happened to notice on the clock that it was 8:13 p.m. So I think that's long. Probably they allocated 3 hours for it, right?
Sure.
And meant to begin again at 8 p.m. Anyway, that is that. Other news I have for you. There's going to be an animated Mario movie with the incredibly Italian cast of Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Seth Rogen, and Jack Black. Chris Pratt is Mario.
It's me, Chris Pratt.
I told this to Nick yesterday when he got home from school. I'm like, so Nick, they're doing an animated Mario movie. And he cut me off and he goes, oh, that sounds horrible. It does.
Look, I have no dog in this hunt. I never played the game. I hated the first movie, which I find it hilarious that it has its defenders now, because again, was it great or were you 8? Because so yeah, I whatever, do what you want, Nintendo.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this?
The original movie's a train wreck. I mean, an animated Mario is the way to go. I mean, look, there's the potential for a fun adventure there. I think that's not great voice casting.
No.
Partly I think you want someone kind of older as Mario. But
a Bob Hoskins type, say.
I'll tell you who would have been great, although we just lost him. Ed Asner as Mario would have been fucking amazing.
That is good. So that's happening. Oh, it's from the folks at Illumination. So maybe it'll have a Minions vibe to it. It'll be kind of wacky.
I'll tell you, look, they did that Grinch reboot, which I just thought, oh, no, let's not. And then I wound up really liking it. So, I could be down for this, but again, I have no baggage for this. So however I feel about the movie, it's not going to be because, they didn't get, XYZ from the game right,
Yes, that comes out holiday season 2022.
Yeah.
So that is next year. I'm sure we'll probably review it. But sooner than that, November 12th is Disney Plus Day. This is a day where they're going to put all kinds of content on Disney Plus, including Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Hooray.
Perhaps you've heard of it.
Finally, I'll get to see it.
So is that really the first time that will they not stream it prior to that? Had they not had plans prior to that to stream it?
I don't think so. I don't think it would make such a big to-do about this whole Disney Plus Day if that were the fact. So yeah, they're dropping Shang-Chi and Jungle Cruise, and they're premiering Home Sweet Home Alone, which is their reboot of that franchise.
And they have a bunch of new Marvel and Star Wars content.
Yeah. Okay.
Coming out that day. So
yes,
November 12th.
New Star Wars content hit Wednesday.
Did you watch it?
I haven't watched any of it yet because I haven't had time, but Gabe and I are going to watch it this weekend. Star Wars Visions. It's anime shorts or anime inspired shorts taken from various Star Wars series. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Did you see the guy who got dragged on the internet who complaining that these shorts made Star Wars Japanese? And everybody was like, dude, let me tell you about a movie called The Hidden Fortress.
Matt, did you watch What If this week?
I haven't. No, but to that other guy, like, did you miss what Obi-Wan Kenobi sounds like?
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be Toshiro Mifune? Like, come on. Which would have been rad.
Well, sure.
I have a bunch of Netflix news for you. A bunch of things are coming on Netflix that we're going to want to keep an eye out for, including next week, another Britney Spears documentary.
Yes.
This is called Britney versus Spears. It's from director Aaron Lee Carr, who has done like a documentary about, the American gymnasts and Larry Nassar. And so she's been working on this in secret for like 2.5 years, along with Jenny Elescu, if you have Sirius XM, Jenny Elescu. And they're looking more at the conservatorship. So we had Framing Britney Spears from a bunch of New York Times journalists earlier this year, looking at her place in pop culture in sort of the larger sense. And then when that came out, as we learned from this LA Times story, Aaron Lee Carr was like, oh shit, because I'm doing one of these too. So she's focusing more on the specifics and like digging deep on the conservatorship. And she got a hold of like documents.
Okay.
So that'll be cool. That comes out next week. I'm hoping we can talk about it at some point. Maybe next week we can talk about it. It's a busy time.
It is.
Fall film season's a busy time. Also, Netflix has purchased the entire Roald Dahl estate.
Yes.
And so there's a whole bunch of new quote unquote stuff coming, including an animated Charlie and the Chocolate Factory directed by Taika Waititi. There's a whole series of the Twits.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of a Matilda musical movie.
Oh, of the stage version? Okay.
Yeah.
How about can we get an Oompa Loompa
spin-off? Kind of like the show. Minions, like a Minion spin-off with Oompa Loompas.
Or maybe
what
like
do they do?
Show.
Right. What do they do when they're not, dispatching small children?
Maybe it should be like This Old Factory with, like instead of This Old House with Bob Villa, This Old Factory with the Oompa Loompas.
Or a prequel in Loompa Land where they are, warding off the Vermicious Canids.
That's really funny.
And the Snozwanglers.
That's really funny.
Loompa, the movie.
When this is over, Google My Uncle Oswald. That's the Roald Dahl property I want to see them do.
What's that?
It's filthy.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's that. And then also we have Tiger King 2 coming.
Oh, God. Read the room, Netflix. Come on.
It seems so long ago. It was only like 1.5 years ago, but like, wasn't there going to be a feature film about Tiger King?
There were a couple floating around. There was one where like Kate McKinnon was going to play Carol Baskin, and I think that wound up not happening. But I think the Nicolas Cage one might still be on. I forget where that wound up, where he was going to play Joe Exotic. I'll tell you, here's the thing. I keep saying I'm never going to go back for The Circle, and they hook me in every time. So I'm not going to assume that I'm not going to wind up getting addicted to Tiger King 2, but I'd rather not.
I mean, we did do recaps of the first season of Tiger King. Here's what I wonder, though. Does revisiting Tiger King take us all back to early days COVID? And is that like a place we don't want to be mentally? Like, I just watched this really cute little indie comedy called Stop and Go, which is out, I think, next week, with these two women who wrote and co-directed. One directed, and they star in it. And they're on a road trip to go save their Nana from a nursing home in early days COVID. And like, it's so triggering, like all the stuff they show of like spraying down the groceries, when, all the things we didn't know in the beginning, and like putting hand sanitizer in your mouth, things like that. So I wonder, like, does the very idea of Tiger King take us back to an early days COVID mindset that we don't want to revisit?
What did I just see that was like super early COVID?
The morning show?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. There's that, but there was something else, like something that was clearly produced early on.
Yeah.
And it was about what was happening. I don't know. Everything's blurring together right now.
Yeah.
There's that.
I wonder a little bit, like, I think some of the mindset and some of the chatter around the first Tiger King was like, man, it's so weird. We're all at home, and what are we doing? And we're watching this weird shit. And it's like, it was this collective, like,
Yeah.
well, shit, we have nothing else to do. Let's watch this. And oh my God, it's insane. You know, now discussions around COVID are like whether or not people are going to get, like, there's already a vaccine. People won't fucking take it. How are we still on lockdown? And we figured out other things, you know, other ways to go on with our lives. So are we all collectively still like, oh yeah, let's watch this freak show?
I think the conversation about streaming in general has changed certainly since then, in terms of it's become more and more just like an accepted part of how we see things, you know. And I think at the moment, not that Netflix was new when it happened, but I think that you're right, there was that sort of early pandemic moment of like, well, we're all at home and this is the thing that we've all decided that it's going to be our like collective, you know, like hate watch or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. You know, no sequel ever recaptures the magic of the first one, but you know, if they've still got something interesting to say, if there's still more dirt to dish, we'll see what happens.
Yes. Yeah, it was a good escape when we needed one, but we are at a very different place now, certainly. Our good friend Tim Grierson did a story which is relevant to our next discussion, which is about Dear Evan Hansen. But he did a story about actors who are too old to be in high school trying to play teenagers, like the not so proud history of this. It's a really fun read. It's in Mel magazine online. And there are so many that I had forgotten. You know, I always think of the cast of Grease and how Stuckard Channing was like 34 years old playing Rizzo, whatever. This is all male characters he's looking at. People like Ralph Macchio, Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, and both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man.
Matthew Broderick and Ferris.
Right. And to what degree are they believable and passable as teenagers? What do you think of? And looking back, did it even occur to you that these actors weren't 17 at the time? Like, were we kids so we didn't know? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about it that much, especially because like Michael J. Fox had been playing a high schooler for years on TV at that point. So I think it was just very easy to kind of think of him as being that age, you know, because of family ties. You know, but I think it's just one of those things where there are certain performers that just that look 16 until they're like 40, you know, like I think Leonardo DiCaprio took a very long time to stop looking like a child, you know, but I think other actors have maybe a trickier time of dialing it back and looking like they're still adolescents.
Tom Holland is very believably boyish as
for
Peter
instance,
Parker.
yes,
right. But like today is Ben Platt's birthday. He's 28 today.
You know, we're talking about Tim's article, which is about guys, but Stacey Dash is the queen of that.
Oh, for sure.
Stacey Dash has looked 17 for her entire life.
Yeah, she got away with the Clueless movie and the Clueless TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and of course there is the great meme that Alonso you sent us of Steve Buscemi with his skateboard. How do you do, fellow kids? Yes. So take a look out for that. And we'll talk about Dear Evan Hansen and the many things that are wrong with it very soon.
And frankly, I think that also that's going to tie into our Patreon only conversation about Rushmore that we're doing this week, because that's a movie where they cast actual high school age actors to play high school students.
Right. Jason Schwartzman was like 15, right?
Yeah.
He actually was the age of Max Fisher. So anyway, we will get to that later on our Patreon. LeVar Burton does not give a shit anymore about Jeopardy.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
If you're going to get disrespected like that, fuck y'all. And yeah, just move on, you know.
So did you guys watch any of the Mike Richards ones? And then now is the Ken Jennings / Mayim Bialik phase?
I think so. To be honest, and it's not because I lost, but I just, since being on Jeopardy, I barely ever watch Jeopardy anymore, but I mean, I love it. It's a great show. I just never think to turn it on.
That's right. You are a Jeopardy veteran yourself.
Yeah.
Are you not?
Came in second. And I'll tell you, of all the game shows I went on, that's the only one where even if you don't win, you get some take home money.
So what did they give you to coming in second?
If second, you get $2,000, and third, you get $1,000.
Okay.
So
do you get any lovely parting gifts?
No parting gifts, no home version. I think I might have a pen somewhere, you know.
No Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco.
No Rice-A-Roni, no turtle wax, no Fieldcrest towels, nothing. But no, it was a cool experience. But yeah, I don't really watch it that much.
Wait, tell me what other game shows. Have we talked about this before? What other game shows were you on?
I was on the other ones I was on all like died very quick deaths. I was on something called Trivial Pursuit America Plays.
I remember that.
Hosted by Christopher Knight, aka Peter Brady. And actually won a decent amount of cash on that one. And then I did a show called Merv Griffin's Crosswords, which again, another 1 season wonder. I got a trip to Cancun out of it, some money, and then a trip to someplace to Henderson, Nevada that I never used because it was like 2 hotel nights, but they had to be weeknights and you had to drive yourself there. It was like, yeah, I'll pass.
You're Vegas adjacent. They couldn't afford to send you to Vegas, so we can send you to the next town over.
It's not even it's like the corner that's practically Utah of Nevada.
Is there video evidence of any of this?
Yes, I think actually the because Game Show Fanatics will have like parts of game shows on YouTube so you can see how they work. You can see my final round of Trivial Pursuit American Plays on YouTube. And I bobble a question that I should have known, but luckily managed to pull it out in the end.
Nowhere have I ever found my Wheel of Fortune on YouTube.
Is that the only one you've been on?
I have been on Wheel of Fortune and Scrabble. I was a big winner of the week on Teen Week on Wheel of Fortune, 1986, summer of 86.
Nice.
And then I won a car and a trip to Tahiti.
Ooh, nice.
And savings bonds and a ceramic Dalmatian.
Nice.
I was 13 years old.
Wait, really a ceramic Dalmatian?
Yes, because you could. Because remember the rooms would rotate. Yes. And it's like the thing you wanted in 1986. It's the first thing I bought when that room came up.
My friend Mandel, who works on The Price is Right and a bunch of shows, has a band that does covers of game show theme songs, and they're called the Ceramic Dalmatian.
That's amazing. Nice. I gotta find them. And then I was on Scrabble, and I got to the final round, and I lost, so I won like $500. Matt, what game shows have you been on?
I tried out for the reboot of The Gong Show.
What's your talent?
What was your talent?
I was going to dress like a cat and sing Stray Cat Strut, but they couldn't secure the rights to the song. A friend of mine, her parents were writing for the show. And then I was on Greed when that was on and won $40,000 because my team was full of dummies. And so we ended it early rather than go on.
Holy shit. Is there video of this?
I have the VHS. I have a VHS of my appearance. I don't have a VHS machine.
I do.
I may have digitized it, maybe. So if I have it, I'll put it up.
Take it to Costco and get it put on disc.
Right? Yeah. No, I was on Greed and had to save my team at least once, if not twice, because I had to overrule answers because that was the thing is like you were a team, but then you could boot, like you had to win together, and if somebody lost, like you all lost. And I know I had to fix, and as the team captain, you could overrule somebody's answers if they got something wrong, and I had to do that at least once, if not twice, and decided like, oh, we're done. I can't keep fixing things. Like, yeah.
How old were you? How long ago was this?
This was whenever it was on, so I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s.
Oh my God. I gotta see this. This is amazing. Anyway, we've gone off on a massive tangent here, but this is fun.
One last thing. If you are a game show fan, tomorrow, Saturday, September 25th on Buzzer, they're doing their annual Lost and Found thing, which is like 4 hours of pilots and obscurities and stuff that like never went anywhere. So check that out.
And in case you guys are wondering how it's possible that all three of us have like a plethora of game show experience, they all shoot here. So like if you grow up here, like you just try out for game shows and all your friends are on game shows. And anyway.
Right. The other funny thing is they make you say that you are from someplace else than Los Angeles.
They did not make me say I was from someplace else.
Jeopardy didn't do that to me, but for the other two, I had to say I was from East Point, Georgia, which is where I was born.
I was on Greed. I had 3 or 4 other friends that were on around that time. Like we all managed to get in, and like one friend won $80,000. No, he won 120 actually. Wow. But I had to say I was from Kansas City.
I mean, that's really funny. I guess they want to make it seem like it's accessible to everyone nationwide, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I guess I could say I'm from Woodland Hills, California. That's where I said I was from because that's where I'm from, and which is not technically LA proper.
Right.
Whatever. It's so funny.
I'm from Louisiana.
Anyway, a few more things. Elvira has come out in her new memoir. She writes about how she has been in love with her partner for like 19 years. She's a physical trainer named Teresa who goes by T. She explains how she saw her across the crowded gym at Gold's Gym in Hollywood, where all love can be found.
Of course.
And she thought I was this brooding, hulking man, and then like saw this person in the women's locker room and I was like, oh, it's actually a woman. And they were really good friends at first. And she was married. Cassandra Peterson has been married to a man and now is with this woman and she's totally in love. And it's like the most fulfilling sex she's ever had.
Awesome.
Good for you, Elvira. I want you to be happy.
No, I'm thrilled she's happy. I'm thrilled that she can talk about it now.
Yes.
I get to interview Cassandra Peterson for our podcast.
Oh, good.
When Rotten Tomatoes had one years ago. And one of the things I asked her was like, do you feel like Elvira is somewhat responsible for the whole like sexy Halloween thing? And she said at one point her licensing company came to her wanting to do a sexy Elvira costume. Gray and I were like, what? And she's like, yeah, as opposed to the regular Hausfrau version.
She seems really cool.
She was extremely cool.
That's awesome. Okay. Fantastic Beasts 3 is coming out. It has a title when it comes out in April. It'll be Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Is the secret that he's gay? Didn't we learn that in the last Fantastic Beasts?
The secret is that he's a TERF.
I didn't even see the second Fantastic Beasts. Here's the thing. Even if I didn't want to not put any money into the ever growing purse of J.K. Rowling, like, does anybody care at this point? Like, is it only the diehards who actually give a crap about the Fantastic Beasts sequels? I feel like this is a franchise that nobody but Warner Brothers is interested in.
And Johnny Depp, because he got canceled from it.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Again, boohoo.
Further evidence of cancel culture.
We do. Apparently, this one is going to give us Magic World War II.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, I can't wait till they cover the Magic Holocaust.
Oh my God. Hey, so a couple more things. As Alonso pointed out, nature is healing. The Clifford the Big Red Dog movie is indeed back on the schedule. November 10th, it'll be in theaters and streaming. We can watch it if we so choose.
Like Paramount took it off of the schedule entirely. The thought being that children were vulnerable and they didn't want to be, they didn't want to try and like be hurting them into theaters. And I guess somewhere they've decided that no, now we can. And I don't know if that's because that have they approved the vaccinations for?
No, they've
yet,
not.
Okay.
So we might be closer, but no.
I don't know what the math is
this
on
week.
This one.
I think it was the FDA said 12 and up. I thought
12 and up has already existed for a little while. Because we're counting the days to 12 around this time.
Christy has an 11-year-old. She's on the news on this one.
We're down to like a month and a half here.
I heard the delay was because they had to rewrite it that Clifford gets adopted during the pandemic and then things end and people go back to work and he has to go back to the shelter.
Oh, boo. Too soon, man. I'm not ready for that joke. That's sad.
People are doing that and that sucks.
Oh, yeah. Fuck those people.
We have a few deaths to talk about and then we will move on to reviews. Willie Garson died at 57. Beloved longtime TV actor known mostly for Sex and the City and Suits. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Suits
Burn Notice
or White Collar.
White Collar. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
I knew it was a TNT show.
USA
57.
show.
USA show. Very young.
Cancer, right? Did I read that?
Yeah. Everyone who talked about him said what a lovely guy he was. One of my best friends who was an a la carte subject, Tracy Tofty, who was on Mr. Belvedere, with him for several episodes. He was her older brother's best friend and posted photos of him when he still had hair.
Oh.
He was a great guy. And then they did like a Zoom Mr. Belvedere reunion and he took part in that and he was nice. Sweet as can be. Roger Michell.
Yes,
right?
Director,
veteran British director
of my favorite Jane Austen adaptation, Persuasion.
Oh yeah, and of course, most famously Notting Hill, of course, but also Venus, this incredibly lovely Peter O'Toole movie, and Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Gwyneth Paltrow. Good little throwback to 20 years ago.
And did he do Wimbledon? Is that him? with Paul Bettany and Kirsten Dunst.
See, now you're gonna stump me on this.
Sorry, I just it's in my head for some reason. But
I'm gonna look it up. But also, we should talk about Melvin Van Peebles.
Yes, in fact, I have a visual.
Do you? You're gonna get up in the middle of our show for your visual? Let's see. What is it?
Tuesday, the Criterion Collection is putting out the Melvin Van Peebles box set in a weird twist of coincidence. Because right now only one of his features is streaming, that would be Watermelon Man, but all 4 of his feature films are in this box set, along with shorts, a lot of interviews and essays. The film Badass, which is his son Mario Van Peebles' film about the making of the landmark Sweetback's Badass song. Anyway, they're not a sponsor, but I'm just letting people know that if you want to know more about Melvin Van Peebles, and you should, because he is a super important pioneering American filmmaker, like just ask Spike Lee. He's they did a reissue earlier this year, I guess in anticipation of this box set, of his film Story of a 3-Day Past, which is based on his novel, which is great. But yeah, you should check out everything in this box. He's amazing.
Wimbledon is Richard Longcrane.
You're right.
But Roger Michelle also did Enduring Love. Before he was James Bond, Daniel Craig was in this really weird little movie called Enduring Love. And he did Morning Glory. Speaking of TV news, morning shows, he did Morning Glory with Harrison Ford and
Diane Keaton
and Rachel McAdams. So anyway,
Patrick Wilson, right?
Yes, a very specific brand of like dry but sweet British rom-com. Like there's a sweet spot there that he was really good at.
Humanist, one might say.
Yes. So all of that is my news.
One thing we haven't talked about, and this is a little, I mean, it actually could have a big effect on the industry in general. We're looking at the possible IATSE strike.
Yes. Oh, right. Yes. We'll talk about that, Matt, real fast.
Yeah. So this is the, this is like most of the crew. This is like you're below the line.
It's an umbrella union that encompasses everything from hair and makeup to gaffers and key grips to electrical to, all those.
And they, among other things, have been asking for like 10-hour turnarounds and, sustainable work practices. And I know that some days have been extended because of COVID protocols, but they're looking to have something that's more reasonable, and the producers seem to be pushing back on that. And if IATSE goes on strike, the industry is going to shut down. Like that's
paralyzed.
Post-production as well, because I think a lot of post people are involved in those unions as well. And here's, that not only are they asking for like reasonable turnarounds so they can actually go home and get a night's sleep between days of shooting, but also stuff like apparently streaming, like Netflix and Apple TV and all those guys still are included under this thing called new media, where they're allowed to pay less because they aren't considered to be on equal footing as other networks, which may have been true when this came into effect, but certainly isn't now. So yeah, there's these are really like substantial things on the table, and they're not petty grievances. I totally support where these guys are coming from. I support an IATSE strike if the producers don't meet them in these negotiations. But yeah, if a strike happens, it's all going down.
It would absolutely be paralyzed. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Moving Picture Technicians, Artists, and Allied Crafts. It's all forms of live theater, motion picture, and television production, trade shows and exhibitions, TV broadcasting, concerts, equipment and construction that supports all of that. Anyway, it's a lot of people.
Would that also close Broadway?
I would think so, right? We work in all forms of live theater.
Well, it depends, because I think they're mainly talking about like movie and TV production, right? So
it might not go into all.
Well, right, because those aren't recordings. That's a whole different.
Sure,
that's a different set of producers.
And also, there are other unions that are saying that they will stand in solidarity. Somebody that I know in the DGA says if IATSE strikes, then DGA workers aren't going to go to work. The Writers Guild has put out a supportive statement, or I think Writers Guild West did. So yeah, this is going to have a lot of far-reaching implications in the industry right now if the strike happens, and it might well happen.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate that, and that we'll keep you posted on what all is happening there. That's all I got for you for news.
All right. Well, listen, thanks everybody for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And yeah, I know we've mentioned it several times this episode, but go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay, talking about a game changer of a Ted Lasso episode, talking about the new season of the morning show, and our subscribers once a month pick a classic for us to discuss, and this month it's Wes Anderson's Rushmore. So all of that and more exclusively for our subscribers. You should become one at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Have a good week, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time. Bye.